Drummond.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. And can I also add my thanks to the member for Swansea East for this amazing debate that and the bill that she's brought forward. And I just want to follow the member for Luton South and all the comments that she read out, because that's exactly all of those I encountered when I was last in Parliament for the first time. I was incredibly worried about it. And it's just so delightful that so many people now are speaking out about it in public, because none of that was happening when I was first in Parliament and going through the menopause myself. And apart from knowing that hot flushes were part of the process, I had no idea about any of the other symptoms until I listened to a Woman's Hour programme, I think it was in 2017. And literally, suddenly everything became clear. You know, that brain fog, the insomnia, which I'm afraid hasn't gone away, and it was in the middle of the night that I heard this Women's Hour programme. And the anxiety as well, which was, you know, that weepiness and feeling that you actually couldn't cope and what was happening to you. That was very much part of it. And I have to say the weight gain but that's also common in Westminster anyway, and a lot of men also have that Westminster stone. So I can't say that the weight gain, I can blame the menopause for that. But certainly it is something which we need to work on, I think. But it's why this conversation is so important. There are 5.1 million women aged between 45 and 55, and it's estimated that 1.5 million will be going through the menopause at any one time, and yet we're so embarrassed to talk about it. Husbands and partners are at a loss as to why their wives and partners are struggling, as the symptoms have been hidden from public knowledge. And if I'd known some of the symptoms before, I could have dealt with them better, as I'm sure my husband could have done as well. That Women's Hour programme was a saviour to me, because suddenly I understood what was happening. And if you understand what's happening, you're able to face it a lot better. Turning to HRT, I never take medication apart from the odd painkiller, so taking something to control, something that's supposed to be a natural process, was something I didn't consider, probably mostly from ignorance, I have to add. But I completely understand that others need medical help. And the House of Commons Library briefing states that 16,000 women were admitted to hospital in England between 2019 and 20 with conditions associated with the menopause. I had absolutely no idea, and I'm sure that other people, most of the public don't either. The debate on HRT has been well made, so I'm not going to carry on with that, but I do hope that we can look in to see how it can be affordable, because otherwise it is a postcode lottery. And I'm very grateful that a member who represents the constituency in Wales is actually very interested in looking after all us who live in England. But I want to just comment on the second part of the bill, because I think that's very important. I'm really pleased that everything's been raised in the public. But it is extraordinary in the last 4 years that so many people have been bold enough to speak out. And it's been happening to millions of women for centuries. But the big change, of course, is that more women are in the workplace than over the last 100 years. And nearly half of all women are over 50. So I'm really pleased that we've got the Menopause Workplace Pledge, with so many employers leading the way. And I hope Parliament has signed up too. Because flexible working hours are essential, especially if lack of sleep is the big issue. And also allowing women to come later on public transport so that you don't have to crowd yourself into something when you are feeling incredibly hot. I've so many times has come off the tube absolutely drenched in sweat and incredibly embarrassed that I haven't got a change of clothes when I get to my office. The point about training GPs is crucial too, and I listened to my honourable friend for Runnymede and Wadebridge and Runnymede, but I spoke to someone who's a doctor, and it's barely covered in their initial medical training. And for GPs, I think the clue is in the name. The name is general practice, and they have to cover a huge area in their curriculum. And it's not mandatory to have additional training for a condition like the menopause in their professional development. So I would very much like to see it being as part of their professional development, that they have to take it perhaps every year or every few years so that they can keep up to date with every aspect, whether it's HRT or whether it's any other aspects of the menopause.
Would you give way?
Okay.
No. Thank you for giving way. Would my honourable friend agree with me that she hopes that the Chair of the Royal College of General Practice is listening and watching the debate today and will respond back to the member of Swansea East in terms of what we're talking about in GP training?
Absolutely, because it is incredibly important that they understand what we're going for, whether they're men or women, and depending on their age as well. But as someone who doesn't see the same doctor twice in my practice, although I haven't been there very often, it's, I don't have that relationship with the GP, so I would feel embarrassed about going to ask for something which I didn't know much about, perhaps. So lastly, on the peer-to-peer point, when I returned to Parliament in 2019, I looked around at my new intake and started approaching women of a certain age, I call them my rocker group, to form a support group for those helping to go through menopause. And this has been a lifeline to us, and I will hope that everybody else does that as well. I can see the Madam Deputy Speaker calling me here. But can I finally thank the member for Swansea? She is truly a force of nature. And I congratulate her on all the things that she's achieving in Parliament, and it's just such a joy to work with someone on the other side of the benches to really make a difference to people's lives.